ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in. It is Hoist the Colors on a Monday, February 9th edition of the program. We are past Super Bowl Sunday. The Seattle Seahawks have won the World Championship, the 60th edition of the Super Bowl. They are now a two-time Super Bowl champion. We'll get into that. Recap the 29-13 win over the New England Patriots. Talk about some of the aspects of the game that stood out. Also in today's program, we are going to reignite our better, worse, even conversation for the ECU football roster, comparing it to last year, the end-of-the-year roster. Today will be the offensive line, which I think is going to be an interesting discussion. All five starters from a season ago are gone, or really 4.5 if you count Bryce Weaver returning, who started as a part-time tackle before his injury mid-season. But we'll get into that conversation, because I think you can make an argument the Pirates are still in pretty good shape there, but how does it compare to last season? We'll discuss that in segment 2. It is ECU baseball game week. The Pirates are 4 days away from throwing out the first pitch against Xavier this Friday. We'll get into that with our ECU baseball roster rundown, talk about the excitement as the end of the Super Bowl means college baseball and baseball season as a whole is on its way. ECU basketball fell on Saturday to Temple. We may get into that as well as their struggles continue. Back in the 94.3 The Game studios, the alternative studio today is Philip Pilkington. We got bumped out of the main studio for some significant guest news for potentially talk of the town. But, and I should have mentioned, by the way, we're not live on Twitter today. We are still live on YouTube and Facebook. But Philip Pilkington, he is back in the new studio compared to what we normally do. This is where he usually does the Logan Zone. So, Philip, how you holding up back there?
It's a little warm, but I'm holding up great. You know why? It's Daytona 500 week, baby. Let's go. There it is.
Poor Isaiah is.
Baseball. I think Isaiah just actually got punched in the face when I did that. So, you know, Isaiah's struggling, but it's all good. He's in this hot little closet we're in. I just threw my jacket on him, but hey, let's go. Daytona 500 week.
I tell you what, I was excited to see the. Like, you almost have like the little webcam back there, so I was excited to see the setup, but I didn't expect to see the anybody stripping on the other side of it. But here we are. This is a way to start a non-football week. Yeah. It is NASCAR week, though.
Yeah. So there was a guy who streaked on the field last night during the game. It wasn't on the broadcast, but he was wearing clothes. So because of that, I had to, you know, everybody deserved to see somebody strip because we got hosed out of it last night, so that's why I was stripping on the video stream.
If you're watching our video stream, you can witness that again and again by going to YouTube and Facebook. Poor Isaiah in the background taking it all in. All right, man. Speaking of tough things to watch, no offense, Philip, the Super Bowl 60 was not the best viewing experience. In fact, you stripping into your Daytona 500 shirt was probably a little bit more pleasing than watching that game yesterday. And look, it was football. It's the Super Bowl. We talked about it going in. We were kind of due for a dud Super Bowl because how great the playoffs were. And we had a fear of a New England Patriots team being overmatched. And they were. Look, they were overmatched. They needed some turnovers, a big play on special teams, something to win this game. They needed Drake May to be a superhero, and it just did not materialize. So congrats to the Seattle Seahawks. Probably the best all-around team in the NFL this entire season. And so it was good to see them finish the job. Look, as a Broncos fan, I do think we were robbed of a more compelling Super Bowl with Bo Nix, but I think Seattle would have still won the game. I think they were the best team. That said, the Patriots, I hate to do it. I hate to do the radio thing, but I think they kind of got exposed as frauds last night. I ran through the schedule. 15 of their 17 regular season games were against teams that had their head coach fired at the end of the regular season. And in the playoffs, Drake May looked rattled in most of those games, but the team around him willed him to this point And last night he looked rattled, and the team could not will them to victory because they were just overmatched, Phillip.
That was one of the more dominating Super Bowl performances I remember. And I know that there have been bigger blowouts, but normally when you see these big blowouts, yeah, one team dominates, but they also hit like 3 or 4 really big plays. And big plays to me are not dominating football. But when you win the point of attack on every freaking play, that's domination. And they did it on defense, and usually they did it on offense. And when they didn't do it on offense, Kenneth Walker looked like Le'Veon Bell back there, and he would just stop, allow the blocks to accumulate or allow something to happen, and then all of a sudden, boom, 8 yards. I mean, I think it is, I'm not saying Le'Veon's the greatest back of all, by no means is he, but all these older backs, all these great backs, even Adrian Peterson, Daniel Tomlinson, the more modern guys, they ran in gap scheme, and it's a total different running style than zone scheme. When you talk about the most patient backs in inside zone of all time, it's always been Le'Veon Bell. It's time to start having the conversation as to how close is Kenneth Walker to Le'Veon Bell, because what he did last night behind an offensive line, he didn't have to do it much because that offensive line was pretty damn good. But he was phenomenal.
Kenneth Walker, by the way, unrestricted free agent. He is going to get paid as much as a running back will get paid. He's not going to get like a mega contract like a stud edge rusher, stud receiver, offensive lineman, but he made himself some money last night. There's no doubt about that. And, man, what a bad dude, by the way. Like, just everything about his persona. First off, great human being. Which, like, the Seahawks are a very likable team. Like I said, this Patriots team was very likable compared to past Patriots teams. Like Sam Darnold, the head coach, seems like a great dude. Like JSN seems like a non-diva receiver, at least for now. We'll see, with some notoriety going his way if that changes. But, like, yeah, their defense has some attitude, but that's how you want your defense to play. Like, there's nothing really unlikable about the Seahawks.
No, there's really not, man. And, I loved how humble Kenneth Walker was in that situation. Sam Darnold also, like, he embraced his past. He wasn't up there just being all haughty about it, like, up yours to every team who cut me or didn't believe in me, which if he would have said up yours to David Tepper, I totally would have been okay with it. But still, Sam Darnold, class act. Kenneth Walker, extremely humble, man. I loved the whole persona of this team is good. They're fun. Good for them. Yeah, it was bad, but, really the first half, I got some texts at halftime saying the first half was boring. I kind of liked the first half. It was just watching defensive players just tee off on offensive guys was kind of fun. Then the third quarter was really, really dry, and then the fourth quarter, it seemed like New England was chasing. But, man, yeah, you're right. The defense has got the grit, but they got the grit you need. You got to be, like I said, you got to be tough, got to be a little mean to be successful.
Kenny Curlin says lackluster Super Bowl unless you're a Seahawks fan. Jerry Vick says the most boring Super Bowl I've ever seen in 40-plus years watching the game. Nick W. says Will Campbell better start updating his LinkedIn. Yeah, that is the Patriots left tackle. And Jerry says ton of field goals, just like watching my water faucet slowly drip. And Kenny adding, my daughter Darion Curlings was in Seattle for work and got to experience the celebration in the streets. That was cool for her. Yeah, as a Mariners fan, not a Seahawks fan, but I was happy for the people of Seattle who had a close run with the baseball season, didn't make it to the World Series, but got their championship last night. Hopefully the Mariners can cap it off later in October, November with the title of their own. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, it's easy to rag on the Patriots. And I will say this, like we kind of all said the NFC Championship was really the Super Bowl. And it turned out to be true. I still expected a better fight from the Pats, but I don't like watching Drake May. First off, I still think Drake May can be a really good player. I'm not trying to say this ruins his career or anything like that. He's still a second-year quarterback, and he doesn't have exactly the best supporting cast. Like if you put a lot of quarterbacks behind the left side of that offensive line, they would really struggle. So I want to make that clear. This is not just a Drake May issue, but the one thing I noticed specifically watching the Broncos game and even early in the playoffs, like he just did not look comfortable, like body language wise. He has not looked comfortable the entire playoffs. And to me, his team, his offense, you could kind of sense that as well. He can throw a really nice deep ball and he can scramble well, but he looks at this point in his career pretty easily confused. if his first read is not there. And I think he's still got a lot of progression to make. It says a lot that the Patriots still made it this far with Drake May and the left side of that offensive line, how it's put together today. But I don't know, man. They got a little fortunate to be there. You give them credit for that, but there was a reason that the game was as lopsided as it was.
Stephen, you're right. The offensive line was not great. Some of those where he did not change the protection correctly, sacks.
Yep.
And when you're a second-year quarterback, the thing you usually struggle at is changing the protection. And when you see a defense that's that good in the Super Bowl, you're going to struggle. And I think it's just he's a victim of circumstance because of his age. Josh McDaniels and he are going to sit down this offseason. They are really going to find a way for Drake to grow. Josh has got a big offseason ahead of him with Drake. But I think a lot of film study will be done, and he is going to grow tremendously this offseason. I think he's got potential to win Super Bowls. I think he's got potential to be a great quarterback as long as he's willing to put in the work in the film room, and I believe he is. And if anybody I would choose as my mentor in his situation, it would be Josh McDaniels. I think he's in a great spot. And you know what? It is what it is. Second-year quarterbacks typically do not win the Super Bowl. Big Ben did it, but his defense played a little lot better than New England's did last night. Marino got beat in his second season. I believe McMahon might have been a second-year quarterback, but heck, they won 46-10. So that was a blowout anyways. So
how old was Burrow?
I think he was in his third. No, maybe it was his second season.
Second season led him to the Super Bowl and lost.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Aaron Donald had a day, baby. He definitely had a day. So.
And it shows it's not easy to get back there. I mean, everybody thought Joe Burrow would be a regular. Obviously, Marino story's well told. So it's just one of those things that I do wonder. Like, I want to see Drake May, and he is kind of you can tell he's not comfortable in the spotlight. His interviews he doesn't get the great answers. I want to see him have a little bit more personality. Like watching Denver this year, I saw Bo Nix have a little more personality, and I think if Drake can take that step as a quarterback and just be a little bit more comfortable in the spotlight, I think he'll naturally improve as a player, taking some pressure off of him. I just felt like he played a little uptight at times, but I don't know, at the end of the day, he was also throwing to Matt Collins and and over the hill, Stephon Diggs, Demario Douglas, and the offensive line is not good. So they can do more to help him out, for sure. All right. Kenny Curlins wants to know what was worse. I knew this was going to come up. The game or halftime. Bad Bunny was the halftime show. Look, I don't know the first thing about Bad Bunny. I will say I did watch the halftime show. I thought the production was pretty awesome and unique. The way they had everything going on with the tree setup, which by the way, the trees were real people dressed up, or the grass, I should say, were actually real people. Like, the production was pretty awesome, I thought. Now, I don't know any of the music, so I'm not going to comment on that. Like, people have different taste in music. Obviously, it's not in English. It is what it is, but we could go down this whole rabbit hole. I watched it. It was what it was, and I didn't really have many thoughts on it. I just thought it was a unique thing. I did enjoy seeing Pedro Pascal, one of my favorite actors, Jessica Alba, in the halftime show. So I was fired up about that. Other than that, I don't really have too many thoughts on it. Maybe that's a non-good radio take, Philip, but I don't know. What do you think?
I have the same take this year as I've had every other year. The NFL is a non-profit organization. The only people that are supposed to be getting paid are the players and the coaches. The players want a 13-minute halftime show. Why the hell are we doing this money grab long halftime show that's longer than 13 minutes? This is the most important business trip of their life. That's what this is. It's a business trip for these players. And you turn the whole thing into a clown show. I'm not saying that's a this year problem. This is since the beginning of these overblown halftimes. So I think they all suck. And if it was the Eagles and Don Henley was singing Desperado and Glenn Fry came back from the dead to sing Already Gone, I would still say it sucked, and that's my favorite band. So it is unfair to the athletes regardless. So it was over 13 minutes. It's not fair to have a 30-minute halftime. So it was bad. But I say that every year, and I will continue to say that every year. So that's my take on it.
Did you at all turn over to Kid Rock on, what was it, Turning Point USA?
Yeah, the house I was at, they put on the other one.
How was that? Was that any good?
It was decent. I mean, it was a show. There was fire. There was singing. It was a stadium show. I mean, it was the same. It's people performing, but the singing isn't the main part of it. The performance is the same way the Super Bowl halftime show is. They don't really. I mean, they do sing, but it's all about the stuff around it. I mean, it's what it is. Same when you go to a concert, right? It's more about the production than the songs, and that's I don't know. It's all the same.
I have already seen Kid Rock perform live. I'm not really a Kid Rock fan, but he was headlining a big music festival I went to in like 2018. So I'm like, I don't really need to see this on TV, and saw it. And
he only did like one song. He did the anthem on guitar, and then he did like one song. Most of it was like Lee Brice, Brantley Gilbert, and some girl I don't know who she is.
I enjoyed Green Day for the kickoff show, but that was I don't know, man. It's just one of those things that's hard with music. Like, there's so many different tastes. It's hard, and the NFL is trying to become more of an international product. I mean, they're up to 9 international games next year. They are trying to appeal to people globally and not just the U.S. And I think I get the frustration with it. People in the U.S., I mean, you have all 32 teams based in the U.S., so like I get it. People want an English-speaking halftime show, but they want to go eventually to 16 international games. And so this is another step in that process, I feel like, too.
It is, but it comes back to what I was saying earlier. They're making the halftime show in the Super Bowl a money grab instead of a business show.
Yeah.
Quit making the Super Bowl. The whole thing's a clown show. It's not just the game itself or the halftime itself. It's all the camaraderie around it. Like, just play the damn game. You've fought your whole life to win a Lombardi. Make it be about the game. I don't care about the cheerleaders, the halftime, the pre-show, performance. Just play the football game. It's a football game. That's the problem. And I get what you're saying, Stephen. You're right. And I'm not discarding anything you're saying. They're trying to grow the game globally. I get that. But at the end of the day, you're a nonprofit. The only people that are supposed to be making money are the players and the coaches. If they want it to not be a clown show, then you should listen to the people who are actually benefiting it instead of yourself. Goodell's a corrupt jerk, and everybody in the NFL office should be ashamed that they've turned the entirety of the Super Bowl in the media days. It's one thing to have them do radio stuff, but gosh, they make it such a darn production. Just play the damn football game.
Look, I'm with you 100%, but it's only going to get worse. Each year, it's only going to get worse, Philip, and I don't see it ever going back the other direction.
Speaking of which, real quick, because you mentioned the 9 international games next year, I'm guessing the one in Melbourne will have to be week 1. And it might even have to be before that first Thursday night game. But I do want to bring up one thing, Stephen. The Seahawks won the Super Bowl. Next year, they are scheduled to host the New England Patriots. Would you like to see Patriots Seahawks as the opening kickoff game? Last time that happened was the last time the Super Bowl was played in Santa Clara. Denver and Carolina opened the season the following year.
You want to know what's crazy? And I think that I saw the potential opponents. I think like the Chiefs are on there, but we don't know if Mahomes is going to be back. And the Rams were a potential team, but I think they're playing in that international game.
They are,
I believe. So yeah, so that kind of wipes them out. So
that's your other big get.
So I think Patriots, as much as I usually dislike Super Bowl rematch, I think Patriots and Seahawks to begin the year makes a lot of sense. I think there was one or two. I think Bears were a possibility as well. Like Caleb Williams opening up at Seattle might be a fun game too. So that would be a possibility. But I wouldn't mind Patriots Seahawks again. What's funny is when I saw that tweet circulate last night, I pulled up Broncos Panthers 2016 season opener and watched the highlights before I went to bed. I forgot how good of a game that was, and I forgot how much Cam Newton was just beaten to a pulp that game. Yeah, and Graham Gano missed a potential game-winning field goal. So there was a while there Carolina fans probably hated Denver after those 2 games.
I think that's honestly when the Denver and Charlotte, they really started hating Denver, is when they really did beat the hell out of Cam in that game, and there were no calls. I can't remember who the officiating crew was on that, but that one was kind of bad. But yeah, man, I don't know. It was fun. It was a good game, and like you said, thanks to Graham Gano for yanking that field goal. But
And neither team made the playoffs that year.
No, I think we went 6-10. What'd you guys go? About the same? About 5-11, 6-10?
They went 9-7 with Trevor Siemian. They faded down the stretch, and then Gary Kubiak retired because of health issues. It was a weird year.
Wait, you guys traded up for Paxton? I mean, I agree starting Trevor Siemian over Paxton Lynch. Why the hell did you trade up for Paxton Lynch if you're going to start Trevor Siemian anyway?
Because John Elway had no idea what he was doing, and Paxton Lynch was arguably the worst first-round quarterback in NFL history. And there's a lot of bad ones, but if you look at what Paxton Lynch did, how little he played, he really didn't even get a shot because he was that bad. And didn't study the playbook either, which isn't ideal for a quarterback.
Hey, it's like Jamarcus Russell not watching film.
That's true. At least Jamarcus played a little bit, but he was not good either. We'll get a break in. Let's come back. We got ECU football talk on the way. Offensive line. Big reason why the Seahawks won the Super Bowl last night and the Patriots lost was offensive line play. How's the Pirates' O-line play looking for 2026? We'll break that down. Compare it to last year and more. This is Hoist the Colors on a Monday.
Jeff Stein here at we have maintenance. It doesn't matter. One better than and more. So it's time to bring burgers and sports it's 1 hour heating. Smart homeowners know that save a bundle and air conditioning or any other type of before you're in the cold in the county area. You can trust 1 hour heating and air 777. That's 252-778. Depend on our highly skilled straightforward pricing guide and our on-time guarantee. I'll tell you about Bill Park. Whatever it is, Bill Park is always because Bill Park homes and in the Wilmington area. Several homes under construction Eastern North Carolina's premier home.
Hey guys, makes it easy for you to everyone and everything. Gifts, highly sought after pieces, as well as an impressive Red Banks Road.
This is Hoist the Colors with Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back into Hoist the Colors here on a Monday. All right, so we were talking segment one, Philip Pilkington back in the 94.3 The Game studios about the Super Bowl and how commercialized it's gotten. Well, guess what, Philip? Great news for you. Just got an email from ESPN PR. A tradition reimagined. ESPN and Disney launch We're Going, the first marketing campaign for ESPN's inaugural Super Bowl. Beloved characters and personalities unite in a high-energy creative runway leveraging the I'm Going to Disney World proclamation with Disney storytelling and ESPN's deep fan connection on the road to Super Bowl 61. And it says ESPN and Disney unveiled their We're Going campaign, which will feature more than 60 iconic characters from Disney worlds to be featured in this campaign. So are you excited about that? All the Disney World and ESPN Super Bowl crossover for 2026 to 2027.
I knew when I saw at the end of the year that it was going to be on ESPN next year. It was going to be a clown show. So, Aaron Jackson, USA flag bearer speed skater, is about to skate. So I'm gonna watch that and not comment before I say something that's going to tick off half of our audience, because Mickey Mouse I do not really agree with, and I believe they made a lot of decisions that has Walt Disney rolling over in his grave right now, and I'm sure this will continue.
We've got the next 365 days to talk about it, so we'll save some time for that. But yeah, I just figured that was ironic. We had that conversation, that email popped up during the break. All right, ECU football talk, transfer portal shakeup, better, worse, even. What we've been doing is looking at each position room on the ECU offense thus far, looking at how the season ended, looking at what's on paper now, trying to figure out, is the position group better, worse, or even? And we'll continue now with the offensive line. So I'm going to run through this as best I can. Let me know if this is too much information, but I'm going to go through all the guys who left, all the guys who are coming in. ECU, offensive line, is losing all 5 starters from the 2025 season. Emmanuel Poku, starting right guard for 13 games. That's 977 snaps, 63.0 PFF grade. Now, remember, before I go too deep into this as well, Pro Football Focus scales guys and is subjective, but still generally right. 0 to 100 grading system. Anything above 60 is considered above average. 60 is replacement level. So Poku had a 63.0 PFF grade. He's going to South Carolina. Jamarion McCrimmon, your starting left tackle, 12 starts, 866 snaps, 56.9 PFF grade, is transferring to NC State. Center Darius Bell started all 13 games, 976 snaps, 53.5 PFF grade. He has graduated. At left guard, you had kind of a tandem starting group there. Kyle Long and Panda Askew, 2 seniors who have graduated. They combined for 13 starts at left guard. Kyle Long posted a 48.1 PFF grade. Panda Askew posted a 62.1 PFF grade. At right tackle, you had Cooper Trubnosky, started 10 games at right tackle, split time with Bryce Weaver, who is back. More on that later. He had 602 snaps, 47.0 PFF grade. You also lost some backups, Jason Tarpe to graduation, Levi Semea to transfer, Samuel Riddy, backup tackle who did not play, transferred, as did Drew McCullough. Offensive line coach Matt Maddox also going to North Texas. Now, notable returners, Bryce Weaver, 9 games played, 2 starts, 388 snaps, 59.7 PFF grade as a part-time starting right tackle. So he actually graded out better than Cooper when playing. Marlio Neolian, 8 games, 1 start, 112 snaps, 60.9 PFF grade. He's back, should compete for a starting guard or tackle spot. Then you also bring back backups Kendall Walton, Jeremiah Williams, Carson Jones. Did not play last year. He was the projected center, lost to a season-ending knee injury in spring. So essentially you have on paper, in my opinion, Weaver, who's a starting caliber player, Carson Jones, when healthy, a starting caliber player, and then Marlio is a guy who's going into his redshirt junior year who could start, who is back. Now, incoming transfers, Pirates added 5 transfers, 3 Division I players, 2 JUCOs. Brandon Best from Kennesaw State, all-conference guard, 13 starts a year ago, 988 snaps, 62.7 PFF grade. They also added starting guard Ethan Kramer from Northern Arizona, 806 snaps, 64.6 PFF grade as a player at the FCS level. They added tackle Hayes Krill from Southern Miss, 13 starts, 930 snaps, 56.1 PFF grade. And the Pirates added JUCO transfers Bryson Esser and Christian Harris, both from Garden City. They both played a right and left tackle, respectively, for Garden City. And then ECU also added 4 high school signees, all of which, except for Preston Broadway, 3 of the 4 are in this semester: Josh Battle, Javon Hargett, and Xavier Massey. And then Preston Broadway will join this summer. So that's a lot of information to kind of give you a snapshot of the offensive line room. So too long, didn't read. Summation would be you lose all 5 starters, you bring back a key player in Bryce Weaver, you're bringing in 3 key transfers in Brandon Best, Ethan Kramer, Hayes Krill, and you get Carson Jones back from injuries. So, Philip, all that said, I personally feel pretty good about this O-line room, namely because you're getting Weaver back, you're getting the 3 transfers in who are proven players. All of them are seniors. They are plug-and-play guys. Don't feel as good about the depth, but I think the room in itself is in a better point now than I thought it would be when they lost all 5 starters, if that makes sense. Like, I was just worried the room would be decimated. I think they have kind of reloaded here a bit, and we can get into the conversation of whether it's better, worse, or even. But I feel pretty good about the O-line room, better than I initially thought going into the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, quarterback was the question, and this was kind of the next one, right? There's only so many good offensive linemen out there. I think we were definitely worried, rightfully so. But credit to Blake Harrell and this staff for reloading. I was talking to Jim Szoke Saturday, and we were just continuously talking about the job this coaching staff did in the portal, and offensive line is no exception to that job they did. With that being said, if we're going based off the last game of the season last year, all those guys had played together. A lot of these guys haven't. Worse right now. But once they've got a few games together, you feel pretty good, I think, about these guys. What I also like about this group is there are a handful of guys who have played multiple positions. And injuries happen, and sometimes your 6th best offensive lineman might not necessarily be good at position where player X was injured. But he might be good at a different position, and you can move another guy who's already been starting into player X's spot and not miss a beat. And it's something this team has had to do in the past. It's something they've done successfully in the past, and it's something that they should be able to do this season based off the diversity in this room.
Alex Hattel, by the way, I believe is the pronunciation. He's the new offensive line coach coming in from ODU. And I agree with you, Philip. I think you have to say worse because that O-line group had basically played together. I mean, you did have some transfers last year, but you had guys like Darius Bell, Panda Askew, who had been in the program, who were playing a ton of ball. You kind of throw in Kyle Long, you kind of throw in Cooper Trevnosky, but you had McCrimmon and Poku who were established guys. Going into next year, you don't really have an established guy. I mean, Bryce Weaver would be the closest thing to that. He's another guy who can play guard or tackle. For the first time in a while, they have more guys who can play tackle almost than interior. I don't love some of the depth. They're going to really need some of these guys, whether it be the younger players who are heading back for a second year in the program, or a guy like Marleo who's going into year 4. Like, some of those guys have to take a leap. Now, the top level guys, I feel good about. I mean, like, I think you have to be happy with having a guy like Hayes Krill, who is just a big tackle. Even if he gets beat, he's going to take some time to get ran over or ran around because he's an experienced older tackle. Is he perfect? No, but he's a guy who's played a heavy amount of football. Ethan Kramer has played tackle and guard. He'll probably start off at guard here. Brandon Best, I think, is probably the best transfer portal pickup I've seen ECU have at any line position, offensive or defensive line, since the portal opened. An all-conference guard, first-team guy. So my question is, who ends up playing tackle versus guard? And then center. Center is the biggest question for me because Carson Jones is coming off a serious knee injury. Now, Brandon Best can play center. He's actually probably more built like a center, but he just had an all-conference season at guard. So, for me, Philip, the spring, I've heard that Jones may be limited coming back from his knee injury, should be full go by summer. But I think they got to figure out that center position, and then it kind of goes from there. So kind of like last year where they lost Carson Jones, had to figure out center. They got to figure out center this spring and then see where everybody else fits. And then you'll probably see some different combinations. But for me, that's the big key is who's going to be in the middle making all the calls, making all the checks.
That's the big one. The calls, the checks, the chemistry with the quarterbacks. You need the skill set, live ball, of course. Can't have a guy who's getting blown up. But skill set and physical attributes. Usually, if you can play guard, you can play center. Usually, if you can play center, you can play guard. Between the years, can you play center? That's going to be the tough part. Who's going to be the high IQ guy? Who's going to develop that chemistry with the quarterbacks? Who's going to develop that chemistry with the rest of the offensive line where they trust his voice? It's going to be tough. But, look, new offensive line coach, everybody's starting fresh. There's going to be some growing pains, but that's why we have spring ball. And, if you make some mistakes the first week, well, you probably weren't going to win anyways. So, at least it's not like we're playing app week 1.
So overall, we are going, I think, worse on paper, but I feel good about this group. And tomorrow I want to dive more into it when we have more time. We'll have a segment kind of looking back at the full offense where we dive into the defense. Like, even though we pick worse for a lot of these positions compared to how the season ended, I still feel solid about the offense. And we'll get into that more on Tuesday when we have a little bit more, a whole segment to dive into maybe overall comparison offensively to last season, how it did. Let's get our second break in. We'll come back. It is ECU baseball game week. We'll discuss that and continue our roster rundown. We got some names to get through before Friday arrives. This is Hoist the Colors on a Monday.
Midland Chevrolet is your home for Midland. Has been serving Midland Chevrolet. Midland Chevrolet. Know that you're getting it. Midland Chevrolet. You've got a lot of new conveniences. On Highway 11. Country Mart. High school. Country Mart. A full-on snack. Country Mart. Healthwise Pharmacy. Medical equipment needs. To be your most trusted on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina. Pharmacy at 615B South Carolina Drive. To speak to a patient service. Pirate Crossways is your Curtis James and his humidifiers, but also Pirate Crossways. Today. 15 years, utilizing commercial and residential installations. Carrier system, service to allow for quicker repairs on to the experts.
Get ready to board. We're live with Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game. Now, back to Hoist the Colors.
Welcome back into Hoist the Colors. It is a Monday show. We are rolling right along here. Talk Super Bowl, talk ECU O-line. We're going to talk some ECU baseball now. It is almost here, folks. Friday, we will have opening day scheduled for a 4 p.m. first pitch ECU and Xavier. By the way, our Bucks on the Pond podcast returned last Monday. That'll be again tonight, 9 p.m. or preview the season opening weekend series, what we hope to see, that sort of stuff going into that. So check that out, Hoist the Colors YouTube tonight at 9 o'clock. Right now, we've got Philip Pilkington back in the 94.3 The Game studios. We're running through our ECU baseball roster rundown. I originally had Nick Moran on the list for today. I forgot we did him in our last show. So we're going to start, numerically, we're going down this roster. We're going to start with number 28. His name is Blade Carver, which is quite possibly the sickest name of any ECU baseball player I've ever covered. Now, the question is, how much will Blade Carver actually contribute on the field this season? As of today, I would list him as the third-string catcher, 6 foot, 205 pounds, out of Texas, and played at Northern Oklahoma in JUCO ball. And Philip, look, I know it's junior college baseball, and some of these numbers don't translate. This guy hit .391 with 13 doubles, 9 triples, and 23 home runs last season. 71 RBIs. Like, to be sure, he can swing the bat a little bit. Or, like, JUCO pitching must be the worst thing in baseball to date, because I just feel like you can't compile those numbers without having at least some juice, and maybe he just struggles against top-tier pitching. It is elite, but I feel like there's got to be a way he can help with the bat this season. I don't know catching-wise if he will, but I think 23 bombs in one season at JUCO, maybe we can find a role for him somehow.
Yeah, at least he's playing JUCO ball, right? Not D2 or D3. Usually in college baseball, JUCO ball is actually decent. Now, it depends on, your conference, where you're playing, and all that does have a huge effect on a lot of these things. But, yeah, I mean, look, at least if nothing else, he's got pop, right? Even if the pitching's not great and that helps the average, pop is pop, right? So you can hit the ball out of the ballpark, you can hit it out of the ballpark. So, a guy who can change the game with one swing of the bat would be crucial. Is he going to be the starting DH? No, probably not. But is he going to find a way into the lineup every now and again, in a pinch hit role especially? Hey, as long as he can hit D1 pitching and, not have a bit high swing and miss rate, I think you feel very comfortable with this guy as a potential late game pinch hitter.
And we expect Walker Barron likely
All
to.
these mouses are in a different order than they normally are.
Oh, good, man. I was thinking I maybe hit a different window on my computer for a second. We expect Walker Barron to start at catcher, Michael Clinton to be the backup, and then we'll see where Blade Carver fits into the fold. Number 29 is Braden Bachman. Now, this is a freshman outfielder that I've heard good things about out of Hickory High School from Chesapeake, Virginia originally. 5'10", 200 pounds, right-handed hitter. Hit .412 in high school. 20 doubles, 3 triples, 14 homers. I've heard good speed, good pop. With Braden, I just think it's a matter of you got so many outfield options. I don't know if he sees the field this year a ton as a freshman, but I think long-term they like his outlook a lot, number 29. So remember the name Braden Bachman. I think you'll see more of the other freshman outfielder, Grady Linehan, but Braden Bachman a name to stash away as well. Number 32 is Jack Vogeli, the outfielder transfer, another guy who tore up junior college, actually started his career at Cincinnati, went to Walter State Community College where they were one of the top teams in college baseball, and Jack, who is 6'3", 225, big-time juice, big-time power, another guy who just put up ridiculous numbers. 408 batting average in 64 games last year, Philip. 95 runs batted in, 22 doubles, 19 home runs, 529 on base percentage, 18 stolen bases. I mean, ridiculous numbers. Now, he profiles as a corner outfielder, DH type, but I've heard his name more than Blade Carver. At this point, they were both kind of the big JUCO bats in this recruiting class. Seems like Vogeli is a little bit closer to playing right now. Cliff Godwin said he's probably the outfielder with the most pop he's had in his program in quite some time. So curious to see what role he plays. I expect him to get a lot of at-bats early, and we'll see how that pop translates to Division I baseball.
Yeah, he was one of those guys when we got him in the portal. It seemed like was kind of one of the more exciting, additions. I remember when he came in, watching some of the highlights. And look, this is going to be one of those things, too, where The outfield, we keep talking about the depth, and it is deep, but also, I mean, let's just say it how it is. Somebody's going to start the first game that's not going to see the field a lot. There's going to be turnover in the outfield throughout the year. Somebody's going to get hurt, and if you got pop, you stand a chance as long as you got a decent glove. Also, I do think that he is one of the guys in the running for that everyday DH role. This seems like the staff is really high on him. Like I said, I loved him coming out of JUCO. Remember how excited I was when I got him. So this could be a guy that you definitely hear from on a day-to-day basis, I think, in the Pirate lineup.
Jack Vogele, the JUCO outfitter, number 32. On the roster, 6'3", 225, big right-handed power hitter. All right, number 33, our final ECU baseball player of this roster rundown. Joseph Webb. No, not the former Panthers quarterback, Joe Webb, but the former Liberty transfer, also a guy who spent time in junior college alongside Ethan Young, who earlier in his career, so that you have a connection there. I think Joseph Webb, who is 6'3", 215, is the first pitcher that is going to call his own game at ECU under Cliff Godwin and Austin Knight. Cliff Godwin called Joe Webb a Danny Beal on steroids, obviously without the steroids, but a figure of speech. And when I heard that, I automatically said, well, this guy, I said it on our podcast, he's 100% going to make the first bullpen appearance. And if he's truly Danny Beal on steroids, he's going to make every bullpen appearance. But I think Cliff was saying it from the standpoint of he has so many different pitches. We know Danny Beal used to come from every arm angle, over the top, sidearm. He had different pitches for each arm angle. This is what Joe Webb sounds like as well. I think he's got like 8 different pitches if you count all the arm angles and all the different offerings. So he's going to call his own game, Phillip, and he put up tremendous numbers at Liberty. I don't have them in front of me, but tremendous strikeout to walk ratio. I think the batting average against was under 200. Didn't give up much loud contact at all. Can go long into games. Can get you a few outs if you need it. Versatile reliever, probably going to be one of their leverage arms if I had to guess, but my expectations are pretty high for Joe Webb, and I know he's got the right mentality as well. So are you excited for Danny Beal on steroids?
I think this might be the guy I'm actually the most excited to watch pitch, other than, obviously Ethan Norby because of his talent level. When you hear that a guy calls his own games, you're already just, you're wondering what his future holds, because if it's not in, playing baseball, it sure as hell is coaching baseball, right? And then on top of it, the arsenal. Anytime you get a guy with an arsenal like this, he can really study up on hitters and find out what the hitters struggle with. And even if he's not phenomenal, as long as he has got all of his pitches working moderate and he knows what his opponent struggles with, he's always going to have the advantage. And to your point, Steven, he's not just a high-leverage guy. He can be, but he also can eat innings. This is one of the most versatile bullpen arms that maybe we've ever had. And look, man, if this guy reaches his full potential, we are talking about a vital, vital piece in what could be finally a run to Omaha, especially with what it takes to win in postseason baseball.
Let me ask you this, Phillip, before we get a break in. If Joe Webb, and I don't want this to happen, but I'm just scenario, it is sports talk radio. If Joe Webb has like a first, if he has a few rough outings to begin with, do they go back to, all right, man, we're going to call the plays or call the pitches from now on? Or is this something you think you let him work through? I mean, I guess he's done it before, so you trust him there, but I'm just curious to see that dynamic.
I let him work through it. I mean, yeah, this is not a, hey, we're trying this once, it's been done before. Does Cliff have as much patience as me? I'm going, no. Does AK have more patience than me? Absolutely. So I'm going to go on a limb and say if it goes bad, there is a Cliff AK battle, and we'll see who wins it. If he keeps calling his games, that means AK won it, and if he doesn't, Cliff won it.
And hopefully it goes well, and we never have to even go down that path, but just a scenario to throw out there. All right, there's your ECU baseball roster rundown for today. We've got 13 more players to get through, so we'll try to knock those out the next few days, 4 or 5 a day, going into opening day on Friday. All right, let's get our final break in when we come back. Pirate Hoops falls again. They are winless at home in conference play. We'll discuss the ramifications of that and more. This is Hoist the Colors.
There's a load of safety features to protect you just as well. It's a lot like an airbag. Carolina Farm Bureau Contact your local farm bureau. We'll be working with neighbors you can trust. These agents These Farm Bureau agents are knowledgeable in a wide range of insurance. They are also tuned into the Greenville community. Contact today at Farm Bureau Insurance Agency 256-3165. Want a straighter solution? Associates, they make it easy within the zone. They're comfortable with as a Gold Plus Invisalign provider, your experienced team is patients. Smile with confidence and see real results without Invisalign consultation. Perfect smile. 252-752-1111. Your smile is our passion.
Welcome back in. Hoist the Colors. Final few minutes of the show. Final segment here on HTC. ECU Hoops lost another tough one at home. They're now 0-5 in conference play at home. They lost to Temple 81-73. I thought a good crowd on hand for a Saturday noon tip with a team that has not won a home game since mid-December. Took my family to the game. Good atmosphere, and unfortunately just another game where the Pirates actually this time got off to a good start and then faded, and then were trying to make up ground the whole game. Temple was just a better team, shot the ball better. ECU had a chance in the second half to make really a run at it, but could not get a stop when they needed it, or when they did get a stop, B, they gave up the offensive rebound. And you credit Temple for making plays, but another winnable game at home gets away from ECU. So they've been able to find a formula for at least some success on the road. Philip Pilkin back in 94.3 The Game Studios, but unable to really keep any momentum going coming into these home games. And the standings now, ECU 2-8 in 12th place, 2 full games behind Rice and North Texas with limited opportunities, 8 games left to make the conference tournament. So it's looking pretty bleak, although you do have a winnable game on Wednesday against UTSA at home. You got to get this one, Philip. By the way, I ran some numbers during the break. UTSA has lost 16 in a row, and they've lost conference games by an average scoring margin of 21 points per game.
Wow, that sounds like something out of a movie where the team really sucks at the beginning of the movie and the new coach comes in, or they get a dog like an Air Bud to turn it around, or a mule like in the movie Gus. That's what this feels like. So yeah, I mean, you got to win it. As for the other day, yeah, it was great. They were up 10-1, but Temple was not panicking up 10-1. You could tell they thought they were the better team because their body language when it was 10-1 had not changed. They didn't try and get it all back. And within from one media timeout to the next, they slowly chipped away. And man, look, ECU right now, I can tell you, if Jordan's got the ball, I feel good. If Dimitri's got the ball, I feel good. What's Mbang or not Mbang? What am I drawing a blank? Imajuro hasn't been as good down the stretch as he was at the beginning of the year. Cocker's getting a little better, but it's still just like, man, you can't rely on 30 a game from one guy.
Yeah, I mean he has scored 32 or more points in 3 consecutive games, which is remarkable, but also an indictment of the rest of the team. Unfortunately, I mean it's just not good enough around Jordan Riley, and he's actually been pretty efficient lately, and it still hasn't mattered. So I don't know. We'll talk more ECU hoops on Tuesday. Again, they've got a very winnable game coming up against UTSA. Really need to get that one, but we'll dive more into it tomorrow. Also more baseball talk as well. We'll try to get Mike Mullis to join us to preview the season and some football as well. We'll see you tomorrow, 12 noon on Hoist the Colors.